This podcast is brought to you by our friends at Anchor by Spotify. And if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. No specialty training or equipment needed. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast worldwide on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. And best of all, like I've been saying, Anchor is totally free. It's free. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started and make your podcast dreams a reality. That's anchor.fm. What are you waiting for? Download the app.
Well, it's a big show.
Welcome to the Fade Route
It's a big bad show tonight.
with DNZ.
Yeah, it's a big show.
Here are your hosts,
Crank it up, turn on them lights.
DNZ. Welcome everybody to this week's episode of the Fade Route with DNZ. I am Z, and we got a great show for you. Legendary special teams coach from the Jets, Dolphins, and Saints, Mike Westhoff, joins us on the In Route to talk his new book, and also some current NFL players like Taysom Hill and a few of Westhoff guys who may or may not be floating around the league now. Jimmy G gets paid. And RJ Barrett gets paid, which may mess up the Donovan Mitchell thing for the Knicks. But we begin with a little bit of breaking news from Chicago. White Sox manager Tony La Russa is now out indefinitely as he undergoes medical tests in Arizona, according to the team on Wednesday. The White Sox were playing against the Kansas City Royals, and La Russa actually participated in his regular pregame routine. Everything was, it seemed to be normal, seemed to be like everything was hunky-dory. And then with about an hour before first pitch, he was not medically cleared to manage by doctors. Now, it's been a tumultuous season for the White Sox, to say the least. There were high expectations. This was the year that they were supposed to take the leap, and frankly, they have been one of the bigger underachieving clubs in all of Major League Baseball. And Miguel Cairo, the bench coach, is going to manage until La Russa returns. It is August 31st, September 1st. You only have about a month left. Pragmatism, and that would probably dictate that Tony's not coming back this year. At least, out of an abundance of caution, you would figure that Tony La Russa would not come back this year to manage. And we wish him nothing but the best. Hopefully, he is able to, recover and get back to the game he loves. He's only 77, right? 77 is still still young, but if he were to leave today, if that was his last game as a manager, he is well within the Hall of Fame. He is a 3-time World Series champion, a 6-time pennant winner. He's a 4-time manager of the year. Like, his legacy is already set because Cooperstown has already enshrined him. He didn't detract enough, he didn't detract from his legacy by taking this position, but clearly, something that hasn't been right all year, and this was just another blow in a series of them for the White Sox this year. But Tony, we wish you the best. Rest up, and hopefully you can get back to the game of baseball soon, because baseball can always use a guy like you. And here he is. I've known this guy since our days on Carousel Shoes, flight crew through and through, the last QB in St. John's history. What's up, D? How's it going, man?
Yeah, sad to hear about Tony La Russa. Obviously health always comes first. And, he's an older guy, and he's been around for a long time. But you're right, something's been amiss all season. I mean, this is a team that was supposed to be competing for a World Series title. Now, I mean, they're only 6 games back, but, I mean, they're under 500. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They're below 500 at home. I mean, this team was supposed to bang the ball out of the park, and we were supposed to see a decent showing of their starting rotation. And, Tony has made some questionable decisions to walk people, when there's runners in scoring position, to walk certain players to get to even better hitters. So it's ugly. After this season, he should step down, and he should live out the remaining days enjoying life and not traveling around the United States coaching a baseball team.
Well, I mean, it's his prerogative, absolutely, but Jerry Reinsdorf is on record that he does not like to fire people, particularly Tony La Russa, because of the complicated relationship that they've had. That was, according to Reinsdorf, that was his biggest regret. His biggest regret was firing Tony La Russa in the 70s. So this is kind of like a make good on a past wrong, and digging in and doubling down when it's not working, and it's just an issue after issue after issue. It doesn't seem like that would be the best course of action. And I mean, all you have to do, like you were saying about the offense and how the offense was supposed to be carrying this team. 20th in runs scored, 14th in on-base percentage, 18th in slugging percentage. They do have the 4th highest batting average in the league, but that doesn't translate. They're getting hits, but a 385 slugging percentage, they're not manifesting. And then they've only scored 540 runs. So, something has not clicked all year. We'll see where they go in the future. And this may end up being like a mutual parting of the ways for health purposes, but it's also a nice little audition for Miguel Cairo, too. Miguel Cairo is a long-respected baseball man, was a utility player for many years, and now this is his opportunity to show, as the manager of record, this is what he's capable of. It's time for him to show up and show out, and we will see what Miguel Cairo is made of. But do you love brownies? Of course you love brownies. But you know what's better than a brownie? A delicious, handcrafted, gourmet brownie delivered right to your doorstep. That's what our guys at Sweet Life Brownie Co. offer. Chef Tommy D and the crew offer a dozen delicious delights that you will crave, from the classic OB to Dutch apple to campfire s'mores and many more. Check out their website, sweetlifebrownieco.com, for their Friday brownie drops. At noon, their site goes live and you see what they're making. Since you're there, become a site member and earn points. You earn 50 points just by signing up. Make sure you follow them on Instagram and Facebook too, at sweetlifebrownie_co, for the latest updates and their latest releases and creations. That's sweetlifebrownieco.com. Give them a call, 845-641-3043, and tell them D&Z sent you. That's sweetlifebrownieco.com, 845-641-3043. Sweet Life Brownie Co., because there's always room for a brownie. Speaking of knowing what somebody's made of, we begin today's show with Jimmy Garoppolo. We know what Jimmy G is, right? Solid, unspectacular, gets the job done, wins. But the Niners have seemingly moved on to Trey Lance and we're going to cast Jimmy aside. They were looking for trade partners, and they were unable to. Not one offer came in, if we are to believe what we're told. Not one offer was fielded for Mr. Garoppolo. So, the Niners signed him to a very player-friendly deal. No movement clause, no tag clause, $6.5 million guaranteed for this year, and then he's a free agent. D, do you think this will cause a problem within the locker room if the Niners start to struggle?
I think it's a huge problem right now, right? I mean, I think the 49ers, you may differ with me on this, and our listeners may differ with me on this, but I think the 49ers are concerned with Trey Lance. I think, going into training camp, he's the guy, this is his team, but through training camp, through the preseason games, I think there's some question marks. And, when you think back to teams in the past, I mean, did the Green Bay Packers keep Favre? No. When Rodgers was ready? No, they didn't. Wasn't Jimmy G the guy that Tom Brady said, get out of town? Like, get him out of here?
We know your relationship with the internet can be complicated. It's not always clear if you're safe or your data is...
This was a guy that, he's a good player. He's a good competitor. The people in the locker room like him. Tom was like, nah, don't want any of this. Belichick was thinking about building the future with this guy. So I'm not sure what the angle is here with the 49ers. I mean, by keeping him around, you're not giving Trey Lance the reins, in my opinion. Now it's like, well, if things aren't going well, Jimmy G could come back. If Trey Lance was to get hurt, they're going to be asked for Jimmy G. So I think this is a tough situation. And now all season, we're going to all wonder, man, when is Jimmy coming in?
It is a major, major pall, right? A major shadow cast over Trey Lance. Now, as we know, he only has 6 games to his record. 603 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's been getting first-team reps. So they've seen what he can do. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, they have to have a little bit of hesitation. They need to have a little bit of pause if they're going the fully guaranteed route here. The $6.5 million, the no cut, the no tag clause, the no trade clause. Like they have put this squarely into Jimmy's lap here, and it is quizzical because, like you're saying, if they believe in Trey Lance that much, this wouldn't happen at all.
Right? Yeah, it just seems like a no-brainer. Like, if you're ready to move on,
then do it.
Why are we keeping the other guy here? Like, why would we put the locker room in that situation? I mean, you've definitely got guys that, just have respect for Jimmy G and have spent time with Jimmy G. This kid, Trey Lance, he doesn't have he has nothing with these guys. Like, he's got to build that respect, and that respect's going to have this season. It's like when they run on the field, Jimmy G's going to be running behind Trey Lance. I mean, this is 1 year removed. Jimmy G was a starter last year. They got to the NFC title game. It's not like they lost. Like, they were a good team. I mean, they beat Dallas. They beat Green Bay. Mm-hmm. They were an interception away from beating the Rams. And now you're going to go with a kid who was drafted last year. Just seems very, very strange to me that they would keep this guy around if indeed they were ready to move on.
Absolutely. And it's not like Jimmy G is 37, 38. He's 30. He's still theoretically in the prime of his career. And as a starter, 33-14. Like, can I interest you in that? like 71 touchdowns, 38 picks.
He wins.
He does
We
what
talked
he needs
about
to
it.
do.
He wins games. He wins games. You're telling me the Browns didn't want Jimmy G to start before Deshaun Watson came back? You're telling me that the Colts preferred Matt Ryan over Jimmy G? Really? You're telling me the Commanders wanted Wentz over Jimmy G? You're telling me the Falcons didn't want Jimmy G? They really wanted Marcus Mariota? I mean, I find it hard to believe, unless they're asking prices so high that people just walked away with it. I don't know.
It's a combination of things. You figure, because he had shoulder surgery. Jimmy G did have shoulder surgery.
Deshaun Watson had sexual assault charges, man. He still got a fat deal, traded for picks and everything.
And that did not scare the Cleveland Browns. The fact that he could possibly be banned from the NFL did not scare the Cleveland Browns.
The Cleveland Browns would rather have Deshaun Watson miss 11 games than trade for Jimmy G? Really?
I don't get it.
Really?
I don't understand it.
The Carolina Panthers went out and got Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and they drafted a kid. They don't want to touch Jimmy G? I don't know. You can't help but smile when you see a balloon. The simplest occasion is a party. Westchester Pop Stars, located in New Rochelle, New York, offers balloon styling and decor for all life's events. Birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, showers, school and corporate events, store openings, or just because. Westchester Pop Stars takes balloons and shapes them into works of art, creating decorative installations for your special occasions. No event is too big or too small, and their custom personalization service is top notch. Westchester Pop Stars is a private studio, quickly expanding. In-person consultation is by appointment only. Send an email to westchesterpopstars@gmail.com for more information or to schedule an appointment. No need to hire an event stylist. All you need is balloons. Currently servicing Westchester, Putnam, New York City, and Connecticut. To find Westchester Pop Stars, search for them on Instagram, Facebook, or Google. But sticking with football, the NFL listed their top 100 over the weekend, with Tom Brady coming in at number 1. There were a lot of other questionable rankings, with TJ Watt over Myles Garrett, Joe Burrow over Justin Herbert. What did you think of the rankings, and should Brady be ranked number 1?
I mean, in our production meeting, we went over the list, and I was scratching my head, right, at Brady being included at number 1. But the numbers don't lie. 43 touchdowns last year and 12 picks. 43 and 12. 43. He threw almost as many touchdowns as he's been alive. Think about
he led
that.
the league.
Yes, precisely. So the more you think about it, the more you look into it, it doesn't seem as far-fetched. But Aaron Donald is all-worldly. He was number 2. I can, if you were going to put somebody else up there, like, I wouldn't argue with Aaron Donald. Like, Aaron Donald's a beast. If you're looking at top 5, Cooper Kupp had a great year. Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Rodgers was also there at number 3. Those were kind of stretching it. Like, Jonathan Taylor deserved to be in the top 5. Aaron Rodgers does Aaron Rodgers things. Cooper Kupp, it's hard to say you're the best when you have that, when you're at a dependent position. So it's kind of, for me, like, that one is kind of like, it treads a little bit, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, somebody has to get him the ball. It's not like Jonathan Taylor, who has to make it happen, or Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. They got to make it happen. As far as other players that were a little bit higher than I thought or lower than I thought, like Deebo Samuel was only at 19. I find that low. I mean, he pretty much revolutionized like a new position with this, receiver back thing that he was doing last year. And, he definitely deserved to be a little bit higher. Russell Wilson at 66. I don't think 61. Excuse me. Russell Wilson, that seems a little bit high. I mean, Jalen Waddle at 63. Again, a little too high. But overall, when you get to just when you start splitting hairs at some point, and it's the NFL's list. It's voted upon, and people are going to think what they want to think. But one thing that I do find interesting, Justin Tucker, right? The best kicker in the league right now. 94 out of 100. To me, that seems a little low for the best kicker in the NFL. But that's just me.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, of course Brady should be at number 1. Not just because of a homer. No, but I mean, last year was a strange year. To be honest, I would rank Cooper Kupp over Brady last year. He had the triple crown in wide receiver, for 2021. He had the receptions, the yards, and the touchdowns. He was just, him and Matthew Stafford's rapport were ridiculous. I know wide receiver is a dependent position, but so is quarterback, right? I mean, quarterback's probably the most dependent position. You're depending on linemen, you're depending on wide receivers, catch your ball. There's a lot of things at play there. So I wouldn't, handicap Cooper Kupp because of that. Brady had one of his best years as a quarterback, leading the league in yards, leading the league in touchdowns. I'm okay with Brady ranking number 1, but I really truly believe it was Cooper Kupp's year last year, as it was I think Derrick Henry's year 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just have outliers of seasons. Now, Tom Brady's ranked in the top 14, I think, since the debut of this list in 2011. Cooper Kupp was number 89 in 2020. I mean, you want to talk about shooting up to the top. And not to mention, he also won the Super Bowl. And he was pivotal on the last drive for the Rams in that Super Bowl. So, I do think he was the top player of last year.
I mean, Cooper Kupp definitely had a stellar year, and you can say what you will about, dependent versus non-dependent, and how you take into account, and how you handicap and how you weight certain positions. Because if you look at it, where's the first offensive tackle, right? Trent Williams. He falls at 14. So without a guy like Trent Williams, without a guy like Tristan Wirfs, who was on the list, but way, way down the line.
Yeah.
Tom Brady doesn't get 43 touchdowns.
No,
so
right.
It's hard to compare and quantify positions.
I just think it comes down to what is this list of, right? It's like we always talk about the MVP award. Like, who's the most valuable player to their team? And then this is supposed to be, who was the best player last year? If we're looking at best player, it's got to be someone who, really crushed it in their position with whatever are the most important attributes. That's the way I would think of who's the best player. So right away, it's Cooper Kupp had the triple crown in all the receiving categories. Well, in the major receiving categories, and his team won the Super Bowl. Okay, Tom had at 44 years old led the league in touchdown passes, and he's been a top 14 player since 2022. Yeah, that makes sense. Jonathan Taylor got a good season. Yeah, I mean, I could see how he could be one of those guys you would consider too. I believe he led the league in rushing and led the league in rushing touchdowns. But he not that there were games where he disappeared, but he have other running backs had better years. Yeah, right. So that's the only thing. It's argumentative. It depends on what it means to you. I don't think there's definitely no wrong answer, at least for this past season. So that's why I'm okay with Brady, but Kupp would have been my guy.
Okay, so who would on your NFL Top 100? This is D's NFL Top 100. Who's taking the dip? Like, who is high on this list, but wouldn't be necessarily high on your list?
Well, I'm not a fan of TJ Watt. I'm really not. The dude misses games. Their defense was good. They weren't great last year. I mean, they had him at 6. The people love that guy. I thought Devontae Adams had a really good season. He probably could have been ranked even higher. I would say my number one, the one person I probably had a problem with was TJ Watt. Like, number 6, really? I don't know if he was that good. You know what I mean?
No, it's totally fair. And for me, I'm looking at Jalen Ramsey, and I'm comparing him to Quandre Diggs, and I'm looking at that, and like Quandre Diggs was an interception machine last year. Oh, Trayvon Diggs, excuse me. Trayvon Diggs of the Cowboys compared to Jalen Ramsey, it's just like you're looking at that, and it's like he's only at 23. Like, meanwhile, Jalen Ramsey's that much better than him. I don't see that. I'm not high on Jalen Ramsey. I haven't been his entire career. I always thought he talked a bigger game than his game was. So I find that very interesting. And then you already mentioned Myles Garrett not in the top 10. Just like the hanging on, like that is a little interesting that TJ Watt was there, but Myles Garrett is at 11.
Derrick Henry too. Yeah, Derrick Henry, he missed a lot of games.
He did.
They had him at like 12. I don't know if I can get on board with that.
Josh Allen probably could have been higher too. He was at 13. So I think he definitely could have been a little bit higher. Like maybe you knock out Travis Kelce, or maybe you move down, maybe you move Ramsey out. Like you definitely I thought that Josh Allen had a great year last year, and he definitely was a little bit more deserving of a higher accolade. But at the end of the day, this list is designed to get people talking, right? It's like water cooler material. For all the grill masters, green thumbers, home repair heroes, and DIY aficionados in the Richmond, Virginia area, if you're looking for a personal service, quality products, and a convenient shopping experience, look no further than Thacker Ace Hardware in Colonial Heights, Virginia. Owner Don Rackley and his team of local experts have everything you need to tackle all of your home projects. I'm talking paints by Benjamin Moore and Clark in Kensington, power tools by Craftsman and Milwaukee, electrical, plumbing, hardware, and let's not miss the grills. Weber, Big Green Egg, Traeger, Blackstone, top shelf, amazing. And for all you green thumbers, their nursery department is fantastic. Give them a call today, 804-766-4223, or stop by 27 Dunlop Village in Colonial Heights. That's 804-766-4223, or swing by 27 Dunlop Village in Colonial Heights. Thacker Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
This list was designed to get people talking, and the Knicks are getting a lot of people talking about basketball in August. They're making headlines the last few days as they are in pursuit of Donovan Mitchell, but they're also extending one of their guards in Andre Barrett. Now, Stephen A. Smith came on ESPN and said the Knicks need to sign Donovan Mitchell. Z, what do the Knicks need to do here?
This is hard, right? Because you want the Knicks to be good at some point. As a resident of New York, and as somebody who fondly remembers 1994 when you had the Rangers and the Knicks both in the finals of their respective sports, you want basketball to be relevant at Madison Square Garden. However, I don't necessarily know if Donovan Mitchell is worth the squeeze, right? I don't know if he's worth what you're going to give up to get him. Career, 23.9, 4 and 4.5. So, not great. He's a scorer. Like, they have him as a hybrid combo guard, but he's listed at that. He's a scorer. 24 points a game. Last year, he averaged 26. Danny Ainge is a very smart and savvy businessman. He's going to want a few young studs, and he's going to want a boatload of draft picks. I don't believe that either a combination of RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, and Quentin Grimes, plus these picks, whether they're the pick swap is waived, whether they're lottery protected, the sheer volume would scare me off of making that kind of move. And RJ Barrett, he is improving. So kudos to him for getting his contract extension and getting a raise. So last year he played 70 games, averaged 25.8 and 3, so 26 and 3. He's a career 17.5 point per game guy, but he's entering his 4th year in the league. Like, if he's going to take the jump, this would be the time for him to do so. And the Knicks have the leverage right now because they have the big time assets, right? They have the long-term stuff. They have what Danny Ainge covets. Danny Ainge is trying to shed salary. He's trying to rebuild. Well, you need assets. You need pieces to rebuild. The Knicks really hold this card, and they don't have to make this trade if they don't want to. They can build around this young core, and then you can always go maybe lure another free agent besides the immortal Jalen Brunson, and maybe you can put together a team that you don't have to gut. The only thing that I would like is if they somehow moved on from Evan Fournier, if they could somehow put him into the trade, but I don't know. We will see what happens with that, but I think it's a little too rich for a Knicks fan's blood.
Yeah, I mean, I just think they need to move forward with the talent they have. You went out and got Jalen Brunson. You're bringing Andre Barrett back. He shouldn't be part of, he shouldn't be part of a trade for Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell couldn't win with Rudy Gobert and in Utah. So what makes you think he's going to be able to come to New York and win here? What, he's going to beat the Celtics, he's going to beat the Raptors, he's going to beat the Bucks, he's going to beat the 76ers, he's going to beat the Heat. He's not a difference maker. He's a good player, but he's not, his best years, in my opinion, are behind him. Now, is he going to put more people in the seats? Maybe, but it always seems like the Knicks are trying to go get a guard, right? They're always trying to go get that guard. I don't really get that move, and you're right. As far as Utah is concerned, they're looking for picks, specifically unprotected ones. Danny Ainge isn't stupid. He's trying to rebuild the franchise. We're tearing it down. We're going to do what the Oklahoma City Thunder are doing. We're going to start, stockpiling draft picks. And when we see a can't-miss guy, we're either going to trade up to get him or we're going to be in prime position to get him. That. Totally. And so, you go into negotiating for Donovan Mitchell knowing this, you can't possibly make a trade for this player. You're not going to mortgage your future so they can be better in the future. The best thing that the Knicks should hope to do right now is, develop your young talent, attempt to make the playoffs, and see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. I mean, let's look at this, right? You brought in guys around your core. So you brought in your Miles McBride. You have Miles McBride on this team. You have Emmanuel Quickley. You traded for Cam Reddish, who's only 22. Brought RJ Barrett. You have Jalen Brunson. He's 25. Like him or not, he's here. who extended Mitchell Robinson. You have guys like Jericho Sims, who have shown promise. Obi Toppin, who can dunk like nobody else. And he's improving as a player, but right now he's a dunker. The two main guys that stick out like a sore thumb and who really need to have better seasons this year, Julius Randle and Evan Fournier.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's definitely Julius Randle. I mean, Evan Fournier, who he is. I mean, that's the player he is. That's who he's always going to be. But Randle has a chance to really embrace the city, embrace his role, and be a leader. I mean, he can definitely do that.
That's what he has to do. I mean, the 180 between the love and adulation and then the absolute disdain was amazing, right? Just from 1 year's difference. I want to spend the rest of my life as a Knick. I want to be a Knick for life. That's great. Get me the fuck out of here.
Get me the fuck out of here.
It's like your head would spin as quickly as that happened. But, the Knicks, the Knicks are not a great team. We can agree on that. Like, in a year, they could possibly be in that play-in tournament. Like, it's the East, right? It's the Eastern Conference. We've been lauding and we've been waiting for teams like the Bulls, the Cavs, the Wizards. The Knicks can compete with them. The Hornets, who are perennially on the outside looking in of that tournament. The Knicks can compete with those kinds of teams, and maybe they catch lightning in a bottle and they're able to sneak in. And that kind of confidence is what will entice a free agent to come here, right? Because the free agents are either going to want two things. They're going to want max money, which the Knicks will open up the purse strings. That's what they wanted to do. And they want a good young team where you can have an extended window to win. So those are the two factors that should make the Knicks look enticing to a free agent. Now, the problem is that it just never seems to work out for whatever reason. And, Stephen A. Smith is a longtime fan. He understands the pain of being a Knicks fan, and he understands what that entails, and I understand his frustration. But yeah, I don't necessarily think Donovan Mitchell makes the team as good as he thinks it is.
Avoid messy accidents. Get better stopping power with your brake pads. Callahan brake pads. You never know when you'll be driving in the road and there will be a truck tire that you need to avoid and save your family. Callahan Auto. We really care about what's under your hood.
But moving on to two teams that are as good as we think they are. We have a showdown at Citi Field that may end up being a potential NLCS preview. The Dodgers are in town to take on the Mets. Mets bullpen blew the game last night. Joely Rodriguez, a little cue shot to Freddie Freeman, and then all hell broke loose. We're going to see what they're made of in the rotation as DeGrom is dealing tonight, and the Dodger bats will be formidable because they're formidable all the time. What are we going to learn from this series? What are our takeaways going to be?
Well, I think we're going to find out just how much better the Dodgers are than the New York Mets. I know right now the Mets are leading the Dodgers 2-1. But like you said last night, the Dodgers won. Most would argue that the Mets pose the biggest threat to the Dodgers. But let's look at a few things, right? So the Mets have a 3-game lead on the Braves. The Dodgers have a 19.5-game lead on the second place team in their division. The Mets are plus 127 in runs. The Dodgers are plus 286 in run differential. The Mets, They have scored 607 runs. The Dodgers have scored 686 runs. It's a difference of 79 for everybody keeping track at home. The Mets have 2 guys batting 300 or around 300. The Dodgers have 3 guys. Mookie Betts has 30 home runs. Pete Alonso has 30 home runs. The Mets team ERA is 3.55. The Dodgers team ERA is 2.83. So on paper, it's the Dodgers. I'm sure in the series that's being played this week, it's going to be the Dodgers. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers win the game tonight.
The Dodgers are getting performances that are over their heads, right? Like if you're looking at Tyler Anderson, never in a million years would you expect Tyler Anderson to have the record that he has this year. You know, Tony Gonsolin 16-1 when he went on the IL. Tyler Anderson is 13-2. Andrew Heaney had an ERA below 2 before last night. The Dodgers are getting performances from players that may not necessarily be sustainable come playoff time. And these are also guys that may or may not be in the rotation anyway. But it comes down to offense. The Dodgers are absolutely merciless. 262 batting average, 338 on base, 451 slugging. First place throughout across the board. They are easily the best offensive team in Major League Baseball, not just the National League, in Major League Baseball. And the Mets are certainly formidable in the rotation. It's the bullpen. It's all about the bullpen. Yes, you have DeGrom, great. You have Walker, pitched better. You have Scherzer. You're going to get Carrasco back. You have Chris Bassett. David Peterson has been solid. Tyler McGill was great before he went down. That's wonderful. But I do not feel comfortable. I do not feel comfortable at all running out the likes of Adam Ottavino. I understand he's having a great year this year, but in a big spot, I've seen Adam Ottavino melt down with the Yankees. In the biggest spots, he comes up the smallest. Michael Givens, no chance in hell. Trevor May, no chance in hell. Joely Rodriguez, dear God, I'm just glad it's not Miguel Castro. Like they made that trade with the Yankees, Castro for Rodriguez, headache for headache, and neither one have performed. So basically, the picture I'm painting here is that the Mets need to go 7, the starters need to go 7, Lugo for the 8th, and even that is spotty, and then Diaz for the 9th. Like, that is what you have to do. Like, I trust Lugo in big spots more than anybody else in that bullpen outside of Edwin Diaz, but sometimes that can be, my allegiance can be tested a little bit with Mr. Lugo. But then you look at the Dodgers bullpen, they're trotting out guys like Keith Hembry. You're bringing out Evan Phillips. Jake Reed got the save last night. Jake Reed, who had an 11 ERA, and the Mets DFA'd his ass, and all of a sudden he's acting like he's, some great shakes. It's just, the bullpens are definitely, shaky. Definitely shaky. But I think we're going to see that the Mets are going to have the edge in the rotation, but the bats are going to come on late, and it very well could be an NLCS preview. And it doesn't look good for the Mets. It just doesn't look good. Realistically, it doesn't look good. Of all the playoff teams currently, I wouldn't stack anybody. I wouldn't stack anybody up against the Dodgers. I would argue that this is a World Series or bust team, just because they are so dominant and they bludgeon people. It's just a bad combination. Looking to break into broadcast media, web development, social media marketing, or filmmaking? then CSB is the program for you. From day one, you'll be trained hands-on by industry pros like friend of the show Rob Adams, whose goal is to get you trained and get you working in months, not years. CSB offers 8 and 16-week programs in small class sizes designed to give you the personalized attention you need. If you can make it in person, there are 5 East Coast locations. If you can't, they offer virtual classes too. How great is that? And once you graduate, you become part of the alumni network that gets you to the front of the line. Trust me, I'm an alum myself. Go to gocsb.com today, request more info, set up a studio tour, and who knows, you may very well be on your way to a career in broadcast media. That's gocsb.com and tell them Z sent you. gocsb.com. It's the In Route, where friends of the show get a special segment with us. Want to be part of the action? Want to be the newest member of the In Crowd? You know what to do. Hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com, or slide in those DMs on Fade Route Podcast on IG, or hit that Twitter, FadeRouteDNZ.
Joining us on the In Route today, we have former special teams coach and author of Figure It Out, Coach Mike Westhoff. Thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Oh, thank you. Sorry I'm late, but I'm happy to be here and appreciate your asking me.
All right, Coach, we'll start you off with this. You've worked and coached against many legends over your storied career. Who brought out the best and worst in you?
That's an interesting question. I think the best is really pretty easy to answer, and that's Don Shula, because Don had a level. He set a bar for himself and everyone very high, and you had to really strive to meet that, to meet his goals. And so I would say in most ways he brought out the absolute best in me. I think he brought out the best in everyone. It just was, and he demanded it of himself. As far as the worst, that's an interesting question. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that there was anybody that I worked with that drug me down to a place where I thought sometimes they were. And I worked for a few people that I didn't have tremendous, there was a little bit of disdain, maybe you'd say, or whatever. But I didn't let that affect me. I had a particular goal in mind, and I was going to strive to achieve it, and I didn't care who was on the other side of it. So that part really, I don't believe ever affected me. But as far as raising you up, nobody like Don Shula. He was the best. He was great experience for me to work with him.
Now, if you were building the perfect coach, whose individual tributes would you take?
Another good question. It's very different also. I've done a lot of interviews, and I've never been asked something like this. This is a good one. I'll tell you one that I'm going to, you might be a little surprised right off the bat. And I don't mean, just because I'm going to mention him first doesn't mean that he is first necessarily. But if you want to, coaches have to be teachers. First of all, you better have a real solid, and solid's maybe not even the best word to use. You better really understand your subject. If you're going to be a good coach, you better know what the hell you're talking about. That's first, and to know it. And the guy that I watched in my 32-year career, that I watched on the field, that I thought was maybe the best teacher of what he was trying to present, was Sean Payton.
Wow.
Sean Payton was good. I mean, I would stand there and watch him teach that offense. And believe me, I mean, Pete Carmichael was the coordinator, but God bless Pete, he's a good man. But when it came to on the field, Pete should have been standing over there with me, because because Sean Payton, I mean, and Pete's a heck of a coach. Don't get me wrong, he's good. But Sean Payton he teaches everybody everything. And I would watch him walk through and go through a pass route and talk about a receiver. And he would explain to him, now, when the ball's on this hash, he said, if you'll come exactly to here, that back has to roll to you, and now you pull him out. And he said, Drew, there's the window. And I'd be watching the game, and I'm going to tell you what, it was exactly like that. I mean, exactly. Drew Brees is a heck of a quarterback.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. He was with the best teacher that I ever saw on the field. Sean Payton could teach. So if you're going to, I always believed that one of the things that I did very well is I presented things and taught things well in the classroom and on the field. I think that was a real strength of mine, and I demanded a particular amount. But if you're going to, then if you want to go a step further as far as building that great coach, then you get a guy like Don Shula that knew all parts of the game, but yet did it with such great integrity. I mean, there was no cheating on Don Shula's part. You never heard of some type of filming someone else's coaches or, some of the things that have gone on. Not with that guy. He was first class in everything he did. And he also, for all the dignity that he had, we had a very tough football team. We were, he believed in that. He wanted to be a tough team. And so I loved that. So I think, and then his whole knowledge of the game, his managing the clock, timeouts, challenges, being able to walk into a room and take it over, whether it was special teams or defensive backs or whomever. Don Shula could do that, and he studied it. And if he didn't really know it, then he made sure he did. That was the key to him. And so I think that desire to have that tremendous knowledge of your subject, if you're going to get the great coach, I think that's part of it. Then as far as on the other side, sometimes presenting it, presenting things. Believe it or not, and this may sound a little silly to you, and I hope people wouldn't take this the wrong way. To be a good coach in the National Football League, you have to be a little tiny bit, and I'm being kind there, of an entertainer. Because of the fact that you've got that, you've got a tough classroom sitting in front of you all day, every day, and you can bore them to death. So sometimes you've got to be a little creative. You've got to have a little bit of zip. Sometimes you have to make them laugh a little bit. And I don't mean by being a comedian. I mean just by being a real person. And then being able to sometimes bring up a touchy subject or a deep subject, or not let you to acquiesce. Because sometimes these guys, if you're not careful, they can run the room. I think that's something I was very good at. I think I was a good teacher in that regard, because I could do a lot of different things in my presentation, and I had fun with it, and I was extremely demanding. But I think if you'll ask, and there's some of them were quoted in my book, that they thought I was my classrooms were the best they were ever in, and I firmly believe in that. So there's some ingredients, but a guy on the field, guy gets it across on the field. No one ever better than Don Shula. But right there, as far as getting his message, Sean Payton. If you want to be a good coach, figure out how he does it.
Again, we're on the In Route with legendary head coach Mike Westhoff. You can find him on Facebook under Mike Westhoff and on Instagram under ST Coach Mike. You're responsible for the evolution of special teams game. And we've seen the NFL phase it out because of player safety. Mm-hmm. If you were named the NFL special teams czar, what changes would you make to bring back the excitement of special teams while ensuring player safety?
Good question. Another good one. You're going to get hired on ESPN if you're not careful.
We're trying.
Yeah, you should be. I'm telling you. Okay, I'll give you one right off the bat. And actually, I've talked to a representative from the NFL office about this. Right now, field goals are being made at a almost unusually high rate. The PATs had gotten ridiculous. They were at about, I think it was 99.6%, and then we moved it back to the 15-yard line. Actually, I was involved with that with Joel Bussard. So you can blame me for that one. I had a lot to do with that change. Okay, first of all, what you have when you look at a field goal today, and if you're root for a team that doesn't have a field goal kicker that's kicking in the 90 percentile somewhere, well, then you better go get another guy, because you're in trouble. Because if you take a look, first of all, you've got a friendly ball. The ball's legal. It's not illegal. It's checked by the officials. It's 13 pounds per square inch, but the ball's buffed up. Equipment guys go in and they buff it up. They shine it up like they're shining your shoes. And so it's a very friendly ball. It's friendly. It's not illegal, but it's friendly. Okay. Question for you. When's the last time you saw a bad snap?
Oh, hardly ever.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're right. Hardly ever. Because of the fact that the rules have changed so much. You can't line anybody up on the snapper. You can't drive into them. Some of it was done ridiculously so back in the day. And, there were some of us that really fought against that. And I remember talking to a coach at a particular team. I know maybe you won't believe this, but they had a thing where they would take a defensive lineman and line him up on the other team's long snapper and just pound him.
Yeah.
And they weren't trying to block the kick. They were just trying to beat the hell out of the guy. I asked the coach before the game what he thought he was doing with that. I said, that's not football. And I said, first of all, I'll give you two things are going to happen. If you do it to us, my guard is going to hit your guy and he'll be getting operated on tomorrow. I said, and I'm going to find you after the game and beat the shit out of you. I don't know if I don't know if I could have back then. But back then I probably could have. Today, I probably couldn't, but back then I think I could have. Anyway, that's just not football. All right, so some of the rules were necessary. But now, long snappers look like high school phys ed teachers. No disrespect. That's what they are. So the snap's perfect. Everybody's learned how to hold. All right? So they keep their back knee up. They catch the ball. They bring their inside elbow into the inside part of that knee. That puts the ball down perfectly on the spot. So you've got a perfect hold almost every time. Get off times from snap to kick have reduced from about 1.3 seconds to about 1.26, maybe 2.7. So it's hard to get there. All right. You're not allowed to push. You can't line up on the center and you can't have anybody pushing inside. You can't use leverage. In other words, I can't push down on an offensive lineman and jump over him because that's leverage. So that's illegal. If I were going to make one change to make it a little bit different, I would not let the guards and tackles and tight ends interlock their legs. I would let the guard interlock with the center, but everybody else would have to line up shoe to shoe. They couldn't interlock their legs. They would have to step to a position of interlock. So they'd have to anchor their outside foot and step with their inside foot. Now, that's not a big deal, but it'll make it a little tiny bit tougher on the protection, and you'll see an increased number of field goal blocks. So, and when that happens, kickers get a little nervous and the percentage will drop slightly. So I want to make that just a little tiny bit tougher. That's one small thing. All right. I'm going to give you them all because now I'm going to be the czar. You gave me the role.
Love it.
Go for it. Go for it, Coach.
They play with two balls now, basically three balls, because the kickers all use the same ball that's brought in by the referee. They check it out. I think they have six balls. They blow them up. He initials them first of all. They blow them up, and then then the kickers or the equipment guys have a little bit of time to work on them. They usually work on three pretty well, and then the others are just a little bit. But anyway, so you've got a friendly ball there. Then the offense of each team brings in, I want to say 10 balls. It might be 8. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But they bring them in, and the official checks them for pounds per square inch and lets them use them. So those balls that the offense uses, I mean, your girlfriend can have it for a week. Nobody cares. That just is what it is. Now they got in, Tom Brady got in the trouble where he was accused of letting a little air out of the ball. And I frankly believe that they did that because the equipment guy could take that ball with the needle and just,
Absolutely.
You'd have it right where you want it. So to me, it's no big deal. I think if it were the case, I kind of believe it was, but I'm not really sure. If it were, I think in the off season, if guys like that had gone to the league and say, we'd like to have a range of air in this ball going from say 13, maybe down to 11.5 or something, just a little tiny bit. I think the NFL would have said yes. I think they would have agreed. But, so that's another thing. Okay. I would use 3 balls. I would have a ball just to kick off. The officials would take it right out of the box, blow it up to 13, and nobody would touch it. Nobody would touch it. Only the official, every time there's a kickoff, he brings this Mike Westhoff ball out there and say, okay, kick this one, because it will not compress as well. So instead of landing at the -5, it'll come down at the +3. And you'll put the return without having to change one rule that they've put in for safety. All the rules, and that's why I'm out of the game. What am I going to teach anymore? Because all the stuff that I did is illegal today.
Yeah.
with a kickoff return, it used to be we had, you could double team, you could trap, you could wedge, you could lead, you could seal. There's a million things. That's all illegal today. You have to line up straight 5x5. You can't do all that coverage stuff I used to love to do. So, the innovation part of that is pretty much been diminished. It's not diminished. It's pretty much gone. Anyway, that ball would put the play back in the game. What I want to see happen is I want that special teams coach to be sitting in his office at night with a notebook or tablet like I used to do and be drawing up a million plays till he found the one he wanted. Right now, they don't have to do that. I think they can go home for dinner, for crying out loud, what I saw. And from what just you don't have enough plays.
Right.
I used to do an 80-page game plan, 80 pages. Now, it was a game plan, scouting report, depth chart, et cetera, but it was 80 pages. I think you could do it on the back of a matchbook now. That's just how I feel. I'm disappointed. Though I would change the ball. I'm going to put the play back in the game. I don't believe that's going to happen because I think they're so concerned with the injuries. I believe if the play would become more like a punt return, it would take away the vicious collisions that we used to have, but you'd still have a play. I don't like it now because it's basically become a non-play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
We definitely
There's the second thing. I know this. You go back and think about this, guys. When I was with the New York Jets, my first 10 years, we're in the playoffs 60% of the time. I don't think we go in the playoffs one time of those years if we weren't a viable contributor in the kicking game. We made enough difference that it helped us win enough games. It gave us an edge to get in the playoffs. I'll fight that with anybody. I firmly believe that. It helped us. Yeah, there were lots of other reasons. Yeah, we had Curtis Martin. Come on, he was good. We were a good team. But that helped us. Now they've taken that away. Go back, I'll give you a game. See if you guys remember this one. We beat Indianapolis, Peyton Manning's last game. And then we go on to the next round of the playoffs. Remember that? We beat them? Okay.
Yep.
We're up at Indy, and they score and go ahead. They go ahead by a couple points, and they had to kick off. And I knew he was going to try. He hooked the ball, and I knew he'd kick it over to our right side. He was going to try to get a touchback, but I knew he couldn't do it. It would come down about 5 deep. And Brad Smith had gotten hurt. I put in Antonio Cromartie. We ran a Miami right. We doubled their 5. We ran a 4-man 2-2 wedge type thing, and we ran up to midfield. We completed a pass, kicked the field goal, and went to the next game in the playoffs. If you're playing under today's rules, that ball would have been kicked out of the end zone. We would have never had a chance to run up to the field. We wouldn't have had time to get down and score, and the New York Jets would have lost the game.
No, it really is a lost art, and the way that you've taught it and the way that you describe it and figure it out, it's very clear that the NFL is trying to marginalize the special teams play. But we know that you have your Westhoff guys. You have a list of in your book. Like you have your guys.
Yes.
Now, looking at the current landscape of special teams coaches and players, is there anybody out there that you would consider a Westhoff guy?
Oh, sure there are, sure. I don't know all the guys like I used to, even when I worked in media, I don't study it. But yes, there's still quite a few that are out there. And I would know very quickly. I usually can tell them when I watch them play, and when I talk to my friends that are still coaching, I'll talk to them about guys, and they'll fill me in on somebody to keep an eye on and things like that. So yes, there are. One that I kind of missed during my career, I had him in a Pro Bowl actually. I would have loved to have coached him, was Steve Tasker. I mean, because he just could dominate the game. He was my kind of guy. He could do everything, and nobody cared how big he was. He just wrecked the game. He wrecked the game. So yeah, there's still plenty of those kind of guys out there. There are not as many as there were. I've talked to a couple of guys got head coaching jobs and called me. I thought one of them was really pretty smart, actually. Not just the fact that he called me, but he had some great questions. And he said to me, Mike, if you were in the business today, how would you configure your roster? I said, I'm going to tell you what. I said, you're pretty smart. I said, you're liable to win some games. You're not careful here. I said, I said, you can't have a whole team of peanuts like I used to have. I always had 5, 6, 7 guys. I think they weren't big guys, but they were good special teams players. You can't do that today. You can only have a couple. So I said, I would really fight for. I said, the defensive line coach would love me, because if he wants to dress 6, I'm going to give him 8. If he wants to dress 7, I'm giving him 9, because I want to take an extra couple defensive linemen. They'll be pass rush type guys, and I can find perfect roles for them in the way the special teams game's being played today. I'll take an extra tight end. That guy's going to love me. So, but I'll give up maybe a defensive back or a linebacker. I'll give up a spot or 2. I'll fight like hell for a particular wide receiver. I may want to take an extra one, but he might be a guy that, plays more for me. I said, so I would reconfigure the roster. It's going to be different. It can't be the same. And I hear some of the special teams coaches, that I know, they're talking about, I can't keep this guy and can't keep that guy. And I'm thinking, I wish the hell I were playing you. I could beat you with my eyes closed. So you can't think that way. You just can't. You have to stay with the game. I'll give you one more. You cut my czar thing off. Now I still got one more for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, one more. All right, I'm going to make one more. On the punt, a team punting the football, their widest guy, most people call them gunners. We always called them flyers because Coach Shula called them flyers, and he was smarter than anybody else, so they're flyers. Anyway, I would not let them line up any closer to the sideline than 1 yard below the number. I would not let them go out and line up on the sideline like you see so many do today. They release straight down the field, and then they get hit, and then that careens them out of bounds. And then they use the sideline to protect them. So they run a particular way out of bounds. Now they have to angle like they're coming back in. That's the rule. But they get protected for a pretty good ways. And you can't go out after them. Back when I first started, if you initiated contact inbounds, you could sustain it out of bounds.
Right.
So like you read in the book,
Right.
Kerry Glenn and Lewis Oliver, who were the best double vice guys that ever did it in the history of the NFL, would actually grab the guy and run him out and throw him right over top of the Gatorade table.
That's it.
They'd throw him right over the table.
See you later.
We were really physical. We were tough now. We played hard. And they beat the hell out of them. But the rule, it was legal. They changed that because of us. But we did it. We had a time one time when I was at Miami actually, and we were playing the Colts in Indianapolis. The Colts were punting the ball from the 20-yard line. And we had a particular technique where one guy would step and the other guy would attack, and that we were trying to draw the attention of the gunner, you want to call him. Well, we did it, and they smacked him and grabbed him, and they ran him backwards, straight back into the end zone, out of the end zone, and believe it or not, they threw him into the kicking net. And he got stuck in the net, and he couldn't get out.
What?
And so we had a film. I showed a film for years. I said, you want to play for me? This is how we play. We threw the guy in the net, and he was stuck in the net. It was the greatest. I loved it. We kept showing. I said, there, you want to play? This is how I want to play, because we're pretty tough. And so I would make that change. Now, what it'll do, it'll help the return, because it's going to help the double out there on the punt. In the NFL, only the guy on the end of the formation can release when the ball's snapped. Everybody else has to wait till the ball's punted, unlike college, which has taken that play totally out of the game. So they have no kicking game in college football. Anyway, it would help that. Also, if you were lined up there with 2 guys out there and you had the ball on that hash and you wanted to punt that direction, that one of those guys can become a rush factor. So that's going to make it. You're going to have to account for that guy now.
100%.
So you're just, what you're doing is you're helping put the punt return play back in the game. You're making it a more viable part of the game, because it's kind of been taken out of the game. So, if you ask me, like, I'm the czar, I'm glad you asked that, because that's pretty cool. I'm glad that gave me a chance to expound, because I really believe in these things. And all I'm trying to do is, as you said, I want to keep the game safe. I'm not interested in going back to where it was when I started. I'm not. But yet at the same time, I want to keep it alive. I don't want non-plays. I want to keep it alive and make it a viable part. I want to have a chance to make a play that helps win the game, not make a play. I talked to the special teams coaches at the combine, and I talked to them, and they brought me in to talk with them, and I let them know. I said, you guys are sitting in the seats that, I can get pretty cocky, and most of them, I don't have that many friends. I said, I helped create those seats, so you're lucky you're sitting in a damn seat, but I helped make it. And I said, and some guys like me that were darn good coaches, we made those seats. I said, but pretty soon an owner's going to walk in to the general manager and the head coach, and he's going to say, why am I paying this guy $1 million a year when he's coaching 8 plays? I said, and you better have an answer, because right now that's where you're headed. Now, needless to say, they think I'm a little crazy, but the difference is I'm right and they're not. So, they got to fight to keep the thing alive, and that's what you brought up, a really good point. And frankly, I'm glad you did. So thanks for giving me the chance.
Love it.
Of course, Coach. You have a certain amount of expertise, and we definitely, the NFL would be foolish not to listen to a man who revolutionized the position of special teams like you did, and the coaching of special teams. But in your book, Figure It Out, available at Target, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, pretty much
Amazon.
You can buy Amazon.
Amazon gets it probably the quickest, or through the publisher, which is Mascot Publishing. You can go to Mascot Publishing, and they'll deliver it right to your house.
There you go. You have a wide net to get this book. It is fantastic. And in this book, you speak very highly of Saints quarterback turned tight end Taysom Hill as an all-around football player, not just as a special teams player or as a quarterback. How do you think he's going to do as a tight end, and what do you feel his ceiling is as an NFL player?
I just sent him a text yesterday. I said, tell them to quit calling you a tight end. I said, you're an H-back. You're an H-back. You're the best hybrid player in football. There's no one that can do the things he can do. I had a couple guys like that were, Jim Jensen was the first guy that ever did it. Remember back with the Dolphins, Jim Jensen, he was great doing it. And of course we had Brad Smith that could do all those things. Now, but Taysom Hill takes it to a new level because he's not only so strong, he's so fast. He's a 4.4 guy. He can really run. He can run and he can throw. He can throw. So, to me, and he's tough as nails. He's tough. I mean, I love them as a multiple source guy. I remember one time I was watching practice, and before practice, and our linebacker coach had his linebackers in there before practice, and he was working against a couple guys, some scout team guys, running pass routes, and he had Taysom Hill running pass routes against his guys. Well, nobody could cover Taysom Hill. Nobody. He was killing those linebackers. So Sean Payton came over to me and said, Mike, what are you doing in here? I said, I want to watch this drill. I want to see how this looks. And he said, what do you think? And I said, well, you see Taysom Hill. I said, watch him a couple times. I said, I know this is Taysom's first year. This was his first year, 2017. I said, if you're not careful, he's going to make this division forget McCafferty. I said that. Now, Sean looked at me like I was nuts. He started to laugh. He said, well, when you like somebody, you really like them. And I said, well, you wait and see, because this is really a football player. I said, he can do it all. As far as he can snap, he can hold, he can kick, he can punt, he can catch punts, he can return kickoffs. He can do everything. The guy's just a good football player. I think he'll do really well as, you call him the tight end. Of course, I'm just teasing, but as kind of the H-back type guy that moves all over and does those different roles. Hopefully he can stay healthy because he's had a little bit of a penchant of getting injured. He had a rib injury early in camp, but he's a great guy. He's tough. I love him. He's one of my favorite guys, and I had a ball with him. And I'm so proud that I had such a role in getting him started and giving him a chance, because until I came along and kind of discovered him, he had never dressed. He had never put a uniform on. And he did. He did after that. Wow, was he good. So I think he'll do great. I think he'll do just great.
That is, you have the eye for talent, Coach. There is no doubt that you have the eye for talent. And we'll get you out of here on this one. People may not know, they just see you on TV, they see you coaching, but you have a master's degree in education with a concentration in psychology.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to up and coming coaches and teachers? What would you give them in order to be successful in their roles?
That's another good one. First of all, young guys, what they should do, they should go out and buy my book.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not just from me. You're not learning it from me, but you're learning what I learned from Don Shula. All the coaches I worked with, the players I was with, Dan Marino, the things that Dan did, Woody Hayes, Bear Bryant, Bob Knight, Bill Walsh, Mike Ditka, Al Davis. And this is who I learned from. So you want to learn a little bit about the game. You're not just listening to Mike Westhoff tell a story. You're just learning what I learned from some of the best people that ever did it. So I would do that. But also, I think what you have to do is be varied in your education. I think one thing I learned, and I remember talking to Woody Hayes actually, he just impressed me with how well read he was and how he could talk on different subjects. And I'm thinking, this guy's pretty smart. I mean, no wonder I know he loses his temper and he starts wanting to kill you, but he's he's a bright person. So, to me, I always wanted to be able to be able to express myself in 1,000 different ways. I was proud that I have a master's degree, and most of it's just psychology. I'm not a clinical. I'm not going to tell you, what's wrong with you, but I think I can tell people how to learn, what makes them learn, and what not to do. And I constantly used stories and quotes and all types of things. I love doing that. And I think that's part of being a coach, is being able to present it, and then being smart enough to look around and to see what makes your team work. I went to a high school practice the other day down here. Good team. Good matter of fact, I'm going to go watch them play Friday night. And I'm watching the practice, and I wanted to just run out and start and scream, would you get this thing moving? Let these guys go home. Yeah. It was just like, it was agony. And let's go. Everything, and it's 1,000 degrees. It was 1,000,000 because, down here it's always hot. And I'm thinking, these poor kids, this practice is going to go 1 hour at least more than it should go. That's just, I just, so, those types of things. Or find a role for somebody. Don't be afraid to try something. We had a high school coach that did a great job with that. We had a young man that was a big, heavy guy. I mean, he's probably 5'10", and he weighed 300 pounds or whatever. God bless him. And coach went down and got pads and a helmet from the Pittsburgh Steelers, so he could give this kid a chance. And he gave him a chance to play. He was no all-star, but he could play. I think if you're going to be a good coach, particularly if you start on a lower level, football's a game that everybody can play if you're tough enough. It's not, God bless it, now no disrespect, but it's not soccer. You get knocked down, they take you off in one of those harnesses, please, and I want to throw up. It just, and I love the athleticism, and I love it. I think I went to watch a real professional soccer thing this year. I think I could really help the game. All you got to do is shrink the field and shrink the time. You'd have a great game. I mean, I got that big field. You can't even, you got to have a horse to run over there. It's ridiculous. I mean, come on, shrink the field. I'd shrink it by a fourth, and I'd cut a fourth off the time. Now you're going to have a really good game that I would like, because right now best game is football.
Yep.
Because it's so athletic and so academic, but everybody can play. A little skinny kid, he can find a place. A guy's a little 100%. Bit heavy. Okay, so what? I got a place for you. If you're a high school coach and you don't think that way, now you should go do something else. I don't know. Go teach somewhere. Do something else. Because that's what it's about. Though I think sometimes my degree helped me see things in different fashions. I believed that I used to follow the teachings of a psychologist, a guy named Chaim Janot. He was an Israeli, and he dealt mostly with children. And he believed that if you treat children in a manner in which you see them becoming, the chances of them becoming that are so much greater than if you're just constantly critical. He said, they come in and they do bad in school, and, oh, you're a dummy. Well, they might end up being a dummy. I used to look out at that classroom And believe me, now I had all types of guys, and they weren't all, academic. What the prowess was limited sometimes, but I just said, I'm going to find a way. Okay, he's a little slow. I'll figure it out. I'll find a way to teach him. I'll figure something. I'd bring him in extra. I'd put him with Ben Kotwika, make him sit there and we'd study and get it down and, teach him ways to do things. Then I started drawing everything. Instead of running 2 kickoff returns like everybody else did, I'd be able to run 12 because I could, I'd be able to sit there and, talking to you, Damon, I'd be able to say, all right, now remember now on this one now, you wouldn't make a mistake. You got it perfect. And next thing you know, Leon Washington's run for a touchdown. So I think that's important. And I want to get a diversified education, and I want to find all these different ways to help these guys learn and then coach them the right way and be safe and be smart. Don't be stupid. Don't be doing some stupid drill, running guys like the stuff I used to have to do when I was playing. And no wonder I've had about 1,000 concussions, but I'm still here. I'm still pretty smart, at least relatively. So that's what I think. I really believe that. So I think my education in that regard really helped me, and it helped me figure things out. I didn't placate. I wasn't the easiest guy to play for. I could be tough, but I was very fair. And I have the deepest respect for players, because football's a tough game and you get beat up. Now, for me, I think my medical background helped me a little bit as a coach, because I learned how to live with being pretty uncomfortable. And I still do. And I live a pretty good life. But I learned how to do it by being uncomfortable. And that's what playing football is about. Because trust me, you're uncomfortable when you play that game. You just get beat up. That's the reality.
100%. And the reality is, figure it out. Coach Mike Westhoff. It's a fantastic book. Go to Target. Go get it on Amazon, Audible, through Mascot Books, wherever you get your books. Get this book and read it, because you are going to learn something, whether you are going to get it from an educational standpoint, from an athletic standpoint. It is fantastic. Coach Mike Westhoff, thank you so much for coming on. It is much appreciated, and hopefully, we can have you on again soon. And everybody, make sure you go on Coach's socials. So that's at ST Coach Mike on Twitter, Mike Westhoff 8052 on Instagram, or Mike Westhoff on Facebook. Follow them all. He's a great follow, and the book was amazing. Coach, thank you for joining us. And if you want to be a member of the In Route, hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com.
I'm going to check it out. I'll have a gal that helps me with the social media. I'm not real good at it. I work at it, but I'm a little slow. Hey, I'm sorry I was late, guys. Thank you for putting up with me. And I'll be happy to do it again. Maybe when the season gets going, we'll see some things we want to talk about a little bit. And thank you for talking about the book. I'm very, very proud of it. There's a lot of medical things in there. I'm very fortunate of being in New York and having the exposure to a great place like Sloan Kettering. And what was done for me is absolutely astounding. And I'm very, very fortunate and very proud. So thanks, guys, and thanks for having me on.
Can you take the championship from DNZ? This year, you can play our football pick'em on CBS Sports and compete against us in the option every week. Check the link in our Instagram bio, Fade Route Podcast, for all the details and to sign up. Then tune into the Fade Route every week until the Super Bowl for updates and standings. Bring it on.
The Fade Store presents the Alleged Superstar of the Week Award. All right, boys and girls, you know what time it is. It's time for the Alleged Superstar of the Week. We put up a poll on our Twitter page at FadeRouteDNZ, and you vote, and you vote, and you vote, and you vote. And the winner gets a shout out on this here podcast and takes home the coveted ass trophy. And do you know who took home the coveted ass trophy last week?
I don't.
The Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills. Like we just mentioned previously in our mail route segment, you got some splaining to do, boys and girls, up there in Orchard Park. But that was last week. This was this week. Who you got, D? Who are your nominees for Alleged Superstar of the Week?
All right, first up, I have Robert Saleh, the head coach of the New York Jets. You said Chris Streveler had the best preseason in the history of the National Football League, and then you cut him. Really, coach? He can't play on your team? He can't play on your last place team? If the best preseason player ever can't make the Jets roster, then why do we play a preseason? Robert Saleh, you are my alleged superstar of the week. Number 2, the Dallas Cowboys front office. You cut backup quarterbacks Ben DiNucci, Cooper Rush, and Will Grier, leaving Dak as the only quarterback on the roster. Don't you want someone with some experience in this offense to be the backup on a quarterback that gets hurt every year? Dallas Cowboys front office, you are my alleged superstars of the week. And last, and certainly the least, the 49ers front office. You tell Jimmy G to go find a trade partner because you're going forward with Trey Lance. He's the future of your organization. But then Jimmy G can't find a trade partner. Trey Lance is not playing so well. You sign him to a team-friendly and player-friendly deal. What are you doing? Is Trey Lance the future or not? 49ers, you are my alleged superstars of the week. What do you got, Z?
All great choices. All excellent choices. I'm going to start with the Las Vegas Raiders. Cutting Alex Leatherwood after an abysmal training camp, an abysmal rookie year, but that's not why you're the alleged superstar of the week. This is actually the alleged superstar of the past 3 years. You brought in Henry Ruggs, had to cut him because of the DUI and the hit and run. Damon Arnett, you had to cut him because of multiple traffic incidents. You have not hit on a draft pick. No one that you have taken in the draft since you have moved to Las Vegas is still on the team. How did you do that? Las Vegas Raiders, you are my alleged superstar of the week. Baker Mayfield.
That guy.
In a sideline interview during the Panthers-Bills game, you said you were going to, quote, fuck him up in reference to your week 1 matchup with your jilted ex. Oh, wait, no, you're the jilted ex. If you're going to be fucking them up. Baker Mayfield, you don't have the right to have hurt feelings over this. If you played well enough, you'd still be there. Baker Mayfield, you are my alleged superstar of the week. Jeannie Buss, in a recent interview, a lot of talking this week from my candidates. In a recent interview, Jeannie Buss actually had the nerve, the temerity, the chutzpah, the balls to say that Russell Westbrook, the guy that they're considering sending home or sending out of town, was the best Laker last year. There's one Mr. LeBron James who did a double take when he heard that. It's like a record scratch. Like, what? Jeannie Buss, keep your foot out your mouth. You are my alleged superstar of the week. And last but not least, I got 4. Jake Reed. Not really a superstar, but I just feel like talking about this guy again. You had an 11.75 ERA when the Mets DFA'd you. And you celebrated like you won the World Series after getting the 3rd out last night in the 4-3 Dodger victory. Son, act like you've been there before, because you have been there before. You've been DFA'd so many times. You've been on the waiver wire a lot, and you may end up being on the waiver wire again. Don't overdo it. Less is more, Jake. Jake Reed, you are my alleged superstar of the week. I think we've said our piece. Go to our Twitter poll and vote, and vote, and vote, and vote. And for our nominees, just do better. Just do better. Your favorite podcast has its own merch line now. Go to the Fade store with DNZ.com today for all your Fade Route merch needs. I'm talking tank tops, t-shirts, sweatshirts, like yoga pants, we got those too. Like some cool accessories, we got those too. And we're not done yet. We have so much more planned for you, but check out what we have today at the Fade store with DNZ.com. That's the Fade store with DNZ.com. Order up! We have finally reached the end of our division by division preview for this coming NFL season. So, without further ado, it is time for us to order up.
Order up, order up.
The AFC East. Here we go from 4 to 1. Who you got, Dick?
Oh, well, I got your favorite cellar dweller, the New York Jets. Joe Flacco is starting next week against the Baltimore Ravens. Need I say more? They're coming in at number 4. Number 3, the New England Patriots. I'm concerned with Mac Jones. I'm concerned with the coaching staff. I'm concerned with their play calling. So I got them at number 3. Number 2, I got the Miami Dolphins. Listen, it comes down to Tua, but they certainly have all the weapons and a ton of offense and defense at play. They have a good 1-2 punch at corner. I know Byron Jones is starting the season on the pup, but he'll be back. Xavier Howard's a beast. Number 1, it's Buffalo. And the defense is there. The wide receiver is there. The quarterback is there. I also think this is the year for the running back room to take a big step forward. They have Singletary, but they also drafted James Cook, and he's beat out Zach Moss for the backup job. So I got Buffalo number 1. What do you got, Z?
Oh, it's hard to argue against that list. It really is. It really is. I mean, the Jets have definitely made strides, right? They've brought in a few pieces. They brought in Garrett Wilson. They brought in Sauce Gardner. They have improved. I mean, they were 4-13, so anything would be an improvement. But still not enough to escape the cellar. So 4th place. They're definitely going to be improved this year. Maybe a 6-win team. I'd say that's fair, a 6-win team. 3rd place, I'm going to go with the Dolphins just because I do not trust Tua Tagovailoa. Not to mention that if Tua gets hurt, they're going to go to Teddy Bridgewater, who's also injury prone. So this offense, as loaded with talent as it is, it may not necessarily get off the ground because of the quarterback. And who's to say that this might be the writing on the wall for Mr. Tagovailoa? 2nd place, but definitely taking a step back this year, the New England Patriots. I'm not in love with what they did in the offseason. Yes, they have Devontae Parker, but Belichick's drafts, it's the stuff of legend now for all the wrong reasons. For some reason, he just can't get the magic back. He just can't get the secret sauce. And even so, like Mac Jones, he hasn't looked great. He hasn't looked great. So The loss of James White is going to be huge. It's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough. But I can see them as a 9-win team, maybe a slight dip back, but still enough to hold off the Miami Dolphins. And first place, running away, the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen takes the next step. I think he's going to have an MVP season. This is the time. This is the moment where the Buffalo Bills need to take that next step if they want to play with the big boys. All right, the Bengals got there last year. They got to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are going to be in the mix. Buffalo is talented enough to compete with the higher echelon teams in the AFC. And frankly, I'd be disappointed if they don't at least make the AFC title game. Not even win it. Got to at least make it. But this division, it's theirs for the taking.
This has been the Fade Route with D&Z. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Catch our podcast on Anchor, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until next time, stay faded, everyone.
Time for us to run the go route, but we'll talk to you next week. Want to get on the action, we want to hear from you. Hit us up, faderoutemail@gmail.com. Slide in our DMs on IG @FadeRoutePodcast. Drop us a DM on Twitter @FadeRouteDNZ. Comment on our YouTube channel, The Fade Route with DNZ. Questions, comments, picks, segment suggestions, you name it, we want to hear from you. Get at us, in crowd.